Born on 27 May 1978, his educational journey began at STC Demonstration Primary and JSS, where he wrote his BEc in August 1994. He advanced to the prestigious St. Augustine's College, Cape Coast, where he completed his SSCE in December 1997. He then crossed continent to pursue law at the University of Buckingham in the United Kingdom, where he earned an LLB with management. Following this, he trained at the Ghana School of Law, obtaining his professional law certificate, and was subsequently called to the bar. To broaden his horizon, he pursued further studies in MA in International Politics and Security at the University of Bradford. He also pursued a postgraduate studies in Leadership and Governance at the prestigious Said Business School, University of Oxford. He was elected as a Member of Parliament for Efutu constituency in 2012 on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party, that's the MPP. He has since served with distinction in parliamentary leadership, first as Deputy Majority Leader, then as Majority Leader in the 8th Parliament, and currently as Mighty Minority Leader of the 9th Parliament of the 4th Republic. Within Parliament, he has been a key voice on influential committees such as Defense and Interior, Finance, and Public Accounts. He currently serves as the ranking member on both the Appointment Committee and the Business Committee, where his legal acumen and rich parliamentary experience continue to shape national policy and governance. His distinguished public service includes serving as board chairman of the Ghana Water Company, the Road Fund, and the Electricity Company of Ghana. On the international stage, he currently serves as a third deputy speaker at the ECOWAS Parliament, where he contributes to advancing regional cooperation, governance, and development. At the constituency level, he has championed a transformative policy known as the Efutu Dream, a vision rooted in placing the people at the very heart of development. This people-centered agenda is guided by 4 core principles: security for the people, quality education for the people, better healthcare delivery for the people, and private sector development. He was conferred with a traditional title by the Efutu Traditional Council as the Osahene of the Efutu Traditional Area in recognition of his exemplary leadership, immutable commitment to community development, and dedication to preserving the rich cultural heritage of the Efutu people. Beyond politics, he is the head of chambers at Afenyo-Markin Okuntu and Associates, with extensive expertise in financial crimes, security, human rights, and constitutional law. He is a successful entrepreneur and, above all, a servant leader, whose dedication to public service is truly worth emulating. He is married to Mrs. Diane Afenyo-Markin. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Osahene Alexander Kwamena Afenyo-Markin, the leader of the mighty minority.
Good afternoon to all of you. Chairman of this important conference, distinguished professors of this great university and members of the academic staff, my respected colleague, Honorable Rudolph Jampa of Dentra West constituency, my own brother and friend, former Deputy Minister of Health, and now the Chief Executive of Ghana, the Health Insurance Authority, President, Student Representative Council of UUW, and your executives, President of local NUCs and his executives, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is my distinct honor and special privilege to join you this afternoon in addressing you on this important topic, Beyond the Degree Conference. What lies beyond this degree that we acquire? Let me commend the SRC for graciously putting together this very profound subject matter. This topic invites us to reflect on an essential truth. The purpose of education must extend beyond the classroom and beyond the certificate one receives at the end of his or her education, especially at the time when the most pressing challenges facing young Ghanaians is unemployment. The Ghana Statistical Service reports that youth unemployment remains disproportionately high compared to other age groups, and so many young people who are in employment positions do not fully utilize their potential. The government, through the Minister of Health, told us last year that it cannot employ all 74,000 trained nurses by end 2026. Similarly, thousands of teacher trainees remain at home waiting for opportunities that have not materialized. Many young Ghanaians who were legally employed into public service as far back as 2017 have sadly been dismissed soon after this government took office. The situation is further complicated by broken promises and abandoned initiatives. The industrialization drive, 1D1F initiative by the Nana Akufo-Addo government, aimed at creating jobs and promoting exports, have all been cancelled. Graduates across the country continue to struggle to find meaningful jobs. The frustration is even sharper in this security service recruitment, where forms, according to the Minister of Interior, were sold to over 506,000 youths, yet only 5,000 slots are available. Applicants check their portals are done and are qualified, yet by morning they go back to check again and realize they have been disqualified for no clear reason. This, unfortunately, is the situation the youth find themselves. And worse off, our co-folk farmers have received a haircut. The 24-hour economy, one job, three shifts, as promised, is yet to come into fruition. The women banking, which was aimed at supporting our traders to get capital to trade, is yet to be implemented. In this context, education must be understood as more than classroom learning. The certificate one receives at the end of his studies comes to nothing. For the truth is, education was never intended to be an end at the point of graduation. In many ways, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students, the reality rather begins after the degree. How does knowledge translate into leadership? How does education prepare individuals to contribute meaningfully to society? And how does a university experience shape the sense of duty that graduates owe to their community and their nation? To appreciate the significance of these questions, permit me to share with you two short stories. First, it concerns a young graduate who left the university with remarkable academic credentials. He had excelled in his courses, impressed his lecturers, and was widely regarded as one of the brightest minds in his class. Shortly after entering the workforce, he was given the opportunity to lead some small project team. On paper, he was the best choice, intelligent, confident, and technically competent. But within a few months, the project began to struggle. Meetings became tense, team members grew disengaged, and deadlines were missed. Confused by the sudden difficulties, the young leaders sought advice from a senior colleague. After listening patiently, the senior colleague offered a simple but profound observation. Quote, "You were trained to pass exams, but leadership requires something more. Leadership is about guiding people, making difficult decisions, and navigating uncertainty." End quote. That moment changed his understanding of leadership forever. He reflected on the words of John C. Maxwell. Quote, "A leader is the one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way." End quote. He realized that the knowledge alone does not produce leadership. What the work truly needs are men and women who combine knowledge with judgment, competence with character, and intelligence with ability to inspire others. So let us now consider the second story. Not long ago, a group of university students gathered after a lecture to discuss the future of Ghana. Their conversation was passionate. They spoke about governance, corruption, economic opportunities, and responsibilities of those in power. Like many young Ghanaians, they had strong views about how the country should be led. A lecturer who happened to be passing by paused and listened for a moment. Then he asked them a simple question. Quote, "Everything you have said about the problems of this country may be true, but tell me, when the time comes for your generation to lead, would you be ready?" End quote. The room suddenly fell silent because in that moment, the conversation shifted from discussing leadership to confronting the responsibility of leadership. So, my dear students, these two stories speak powerfully to the conversations that bring us together today. The first reminds us that leadership requires competence and skills that go beyond academic excellence. And the second reminds us that the future of leadership rests heavily on the shoulders of you, left, right, men and women, the future of our country, the young people. Together, they capture the spirit of this conference theme, quote, "Developing competent leaders for a changing world," end quote. But they also lead us directly to the focus of my keynote address, which is, quote, "Youth leadership, governance, and responsible civic engagement in a changing Ghana," end quote. It is upon these that I mount my submissions. It is important that as I proceed with this conversation, I draw your attention to one important thing. Our nation stands at a critical moment. Citizens are demanding more accountability, transparency, and participation than ever before. Technology, as you all know, is shaping the way we learn, work, and connect. New industries are emerging as others disappear. How do we nurture and develop leaders who will not be only knowledgeable, but also be able to navigate the demands of a world that is changing faster than ever? The question is not whether leaders will appear. The question is whether the next generation, especially the young people sitting here today, will be ready. Will you be prepared to lead with competence, responsibility, and civic consciousness? Will you have the judgment, the resilience, and the integrity needed to make decisions that affect the lives of millions? Will you be able to step forward when called upon, not for personal gain, but for the greater good? It is this preparation and nurturing of capable, responsible, and ethical leaders that will shape the future of Ghana and determine the legacy we leave for the generations to come. By the way, what is the true meaning of education? Chairman, permit me to submit that youth leadership, governance, and civic engagement must begin with education. For education is not only about earning certificates, passing examinations, or attending lectures. Its true purpose, I beg to submit, is far greater. Education shapes minds to think critically, the heart to act ethically, and the hands to work diligently. It equips individuals to take responsibility, not only for themselves, but for their communities and their nations. This understanding of mine is reflected in our Constitution. The 1992 Constitution recognizes education as a fundamental right, far right. Article 25 guarantees that every Ghanaian must have the opportunity to acquire knowledge and skills necessary to participate fully in the society. In other words, education is both rights and a foundation for responsible citizenship. Recognizing this, therefore, John Ajekum Kufuor introduced free basic education, ensuring that children from all backgrounds have access to basic education without financial barriers. This policy opened doors that had previously been closed to many families, creating generations equipped with basic tools for learning, thinking, and participation. Building on that legacy, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo also launched the free senior high school program, an ambitious initiative that provided over 3 million young Ghanaians with access to secondary education. Chairman, members of the academia, student leadership, and students, this policy did not only expand access to learning, but created opportunities for young people to develop their critical skills, confidence, and knowledge necessary for leadership. The free SHS policy also contributed to reduction in youth unemployment by equipping millions with employable skills and pathways to higher education, enhanced national development as educated young people increasingly fed into healthcare, technology, agriculture, and business, strengthened social equity and inclusion by bridging the gap between rich and poor, and supported reduction in crime rates by keeping young people in school and productivity engaged. Education is a starting point for leadership and responsible civic engagement. It is the foundation upon which leadership is built. The leaders who would guide Ghana through the challenges of today and tomorrow are those who have been given the tools to think critically, make informed decisions, and act ethically. Let me share with you my own perspectives about youth leadership. As I began in my opening stories, leadership is not only about the age, position, or credentials. It is about competence, courage, and responsibility. The first story of the young graduate illustrated that knowledge alone is not enough to lead effectively. The second story of the university student reminded us that preparing to lead responsibly is a conscious choice. History shows that young people in Ghana have repeatedly stepped forward to take leadership roles when circumstances demanded it. During the struggle for independence, young people were at the forefront, demonstrating vision, boldness, and resilience. J.B. Dankwa, for instance, was in young age when he became a key voice in advocating for self-governance. Akunwa J., who was part of the Big Six, was in his 30s, but was part of the UGCC and its formation. Edward Akufo-Addo, in his early age, contributed to constitutional reforms and strengthened the foundation of governance in Ghana. And Kwame Nkrumah, our first president, was only 35 when he held the country to independence. John Mensah Saba was young when he assumed leadership role that shaped national policies, political thought, and civic action. These historical examples underline crucial lessons. Youth is not a limitation, but a platform for impactful leadership. When young people combine courage, character, and vision, they can influence the course of a nation, just as the graduate in our first story had to learn to do. and Ghana's population is overwhelmingly young. This demographic reality means that the energy, ideas, and engagement of young people are central to leadership, governance, and national development. But potential alone is not enough. As a lecturer in our second story reminded the students, we must ask ourselves the critical question, quote, when the time comes for our generation to lead, will we be ready, end quote. Are we? I speak from a personal experience. When I became a member of parliament in 2013, I was one of the youngest to assume such responsibility in Efutu. In 2021, I was appointed deputy majority leader, and in 2024, I had the singular honor of becoming the majority leader and leader of government business. That same year, I was elected third deputy speaker of ECOWAS Parliament, a position I continue to hold. These roles demanded not just knowledge, but vision, strategic thinking, and ability to guide and inspire others, exactly the qualities that our stories emphasized. Youth leadership today is not limited to politics. It manifests in entrepreneurship, innovation, education, and community engagement. It's about taking the initiative, solving the problems, and influencing positive change. Having explored the role of youth in leadership historically and today, we must now ask that important but profound question. What must define youth leadership in this era? I beg to submit that competence and vision play an important role. Young leaders must be skilled, knowledgeable, and forward-looking. They need the ability to analyze challenges, make informed decisions, and propose innovative solutions. Competence ensures that leadership is effective, while the vision ensures it is transformative. Second, I submit that there must be integrity and responsibility. On this, it is my view that leadership without the ethics and accountability is unsustainable. Young leaders must therefore act with honesty, fairness, and a deep sense of duty to their communities and nation. Responsibility ensures that their decisions serve the common good, not personal interests. And finally, I submit that resilience and collaboration are essential ingredients. The modern landscape demands adaptability and the ability to overcome setbacks. Young leaders must persevere through challenges and work collaboratively, building networks that amplify their impact and foster inclusive decision-making. Now let me turn to governance and civic engagement. What must the youth do? On this, Chairman, I submit that if the youth is to have a real meaning, then it must translate into active participation in governance. Governance is about citizens who engage institutions, demand accountability, and contribute to improving public systems. Governance, therefore, simply put, is a manner in which power and authority are exercised for the management of the nation's affairs. It is a system through which institutions function, decisions are made, resources are managed, and the welfare of citizens are safeguarded. And one of the most important avenues available to young people is the right to petition public institutions. The Constitution of Ghana guarantees the right of every citizen to petition public authorities when they believe that an issue requires attention or redress. Through petitions, young people can formally draw the attention of Parliament, ministries, regulatory bodies, and other public institutions to matters of public concern. And closely related to this is the use of the Right to Information Framework, which was strengthened by the passage of the Right to Information Act 2019, Act 989. This law, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students, empowers citizens to request information from public institutions regarding decisions, contract expenditures, and policies of government. And for the youth, this tool is particularly powerful. It allows young citizens to ask legitimate questions such as how public funds allocated to community projects are being used, how procurement decisions are made, how resources intended for education, healthcare, or youth development are distributed. Our nation is confronted with new realities: rapid population growth, technological transformation, evolving economic opportunities, and heightened expectation from citizens. Emphasis: heightened expectation of citizens. And on this one, I ask, now who calls out? When the time comes for us to seek your vote, we promise you everything, so we are responsible. The time has come for us to be measured in the promises we make. By the way, these changes demand leaders who are competent, institutions that are credible, and citizens who are engaged. This is where the youth must recognize their stakes in government. You are the present stakeholders in the governance of this country. The decisions we taken today on education, employment, innovation, digital transformation, and national development will shape the opportunities available to you tomorrow. History again offers lessons. Young nationalists we discussed engaged with ideas, mobilized communities, and contributed to the shaping of political thought in our dear country. Their leadership influenced the institutions that govern Ghana today. Governance must therefore not be seen as something distant or confined to the chambers of parliament or the offices of government. Governance is reflected in how we manage institutions, how we demand accountability, and how we participate in shaping national discourse. And indeed, Mr. Chairman, the connection between youth leadership and governance is clear. Competent youth leadership strengthens governance, whilst weak or disengaged leadership weakens it. The task before you today, you the future leaders, is therefore not only to aspire to positions of authority, but to develop the competence, integrity, and civic consciousness necessary to improve the governance of our dear country. Chairman, student leadership, and students, I further submit that we live in a changing world. And in this changing world, what is your role within the context as youth leaders? It is important to situate this within a broader reality of our time. We are living in a rapidly changing world. You therefore should cast your mind back to the stories I shared at the beginning of this address. The young graduate, despite his academic excellence, struggled initially because he lacked the practical skills, adaptability, and leadership experience needed to guide his team. The university students, full of ambition, were challenged to ask themselves whether they were truly ready to take responsibility when the time comes. Most stories highlight the central truth about leadership in a changing world. Knowledge alone is not enough. Competence, adaptability, ethical judgment, and vision are collectively essential. The pace of change today is unprecedented. Advances in technology, shifts in global economic systems, environmental pressures, and the interconnected nature of modern societies mean that leadership must constantly adapt to new realities. And one of the foremost transformative developments shaping this changing world is the rise of artificial intelligence. What once existed only in the imagination of scientists and futurists has now become a powerful force influencing how societies function. Artificial intelligence powers everything from medical diagnostics and financial system to agriculture, transportation, and education. Around the world, AI is transforming how businesses operate, how government delivers services, and how knowledge is produced and shared. For you, the youths gathered in this auditorium, this transformation presents both an opportunity and a challenge. You, the young people, must recognize that the future of work and leadership will increasingly be shaped by digital technologies, automation, and intelligent systems. By the way, are we to revisit Dr. Bawumia's digitalization policy? I'm sure it is relevant, and we need it. The skills that will define success in the coming decades will not only include traditional academic knowledge, but also digital literacy, technological adaptability, and creativity and problem solving. Globally, innovators are already using digital technologies to transform sectors such as agriculture, financial services, and health delivery and education. Technology-driven entrepreneurship is opening doors that previous generations could scarcely imagine. However, the adoption of artificial intelligence also requires responsibility and ethical awareness. Technology must serve humanity. It must not deepen inequality or undermine democratic values. Young leaders, therefore, must not only use technology, but also contribute to shaping policies and ethical frameworks that guide its responsible applications. I beg to submit. Ultimately, the changing world we speak of is the environment in which today's youth will live, work, and lead. Artificial intelligence, digital innovation, and global connectivity will continue to redefine economies and societies. The question, therefore, is not whether the world will change. It will, whether you like it or not. The real question, therefore, is whether the youth of today will prepare themselves to lead effectively within that changing world, using knowledge, technology, innovation to strengthen governance, expand opportunity, and advance national development. The young graduate experience reminds us that, like him, today's youth must learn to navigate new tools and technologies to lead effectively. They must embrace innovation and adapt quickly to new realities, just as the students in our second story were challenged to prepare for responsibilities that do not yet exist. And this is precisely why there is a need to develop competent leaders capable of navigating and shaping a rapidly changing world. Now, beyond your degrees, the responsibility, opportunity, and leadership that is expected. Chairman, student leadership, members of the academia, my dear students, on this, I beg to further submit that after your 4 years of study, your certificate will not be tattooed on your foreheads. After 4 years of your study, your certificate will not be tattooed on your foreheads. Opportunity will not be easily handed to you. They must be created and responsibly managed. Entrepreneurship, innovation, applied skills, and civic engagement are the sine qua non in Ghana where formal jobs are scarce. I repeat, entrepreneurship, innovation, and applied skills, as well as civic engagement, are the sine qua non in Ghana where formal jobs are scarce. In my office alone, I have over 2,000 CVs of young people seeking employment. Opposition leader, where do I find the jobs? There's a pile of CVs. However, while the limited availability of opportunity is a genuine national concern, there is another issue we must confront honestly. Political leaders must be prepared to speak truth to power and speak truth to our own people. I say this without fear of contradiction. One of the growing concerns in our country today is the abuse of opportunities by some of the very youth these interventions are meant to empower. In this constituency, where I have had the privilege of serving as Member of Parliament since 2013, I have responded to the unemployment challenge in practical ways. Over the years, I've supported the distribution of more than 10,000 industrial and hand sewing machines to young people. Giving scholarship to students, I also initiated apprenticeship programs in tiling, carpentry, and tailoring, and purchased vehicles and tricycles for the youth under work and pay arrangements. These initiatives were to equip the youth in the constituency with skills, tools, and independence. But experience has taught me some useful lessons. Some of the sewing machines provided to start livelihood were sold. Some apprentices abandoned their training halfway. In some cases, some lost interest in the very opportunities that were meant to transform their lives. The work and pay vehicles, some did not pay at all. Some ended up selling the vehicle which they did not have document to. And at the national level also, we observe a similar pattern. Student loan scheme, which was established to support access to higher education, has in many instances been abused. Funds intended to support education are taken without a clear plan to repay them, weakening a system designed to support future generations of students. These realities bring us directly to what lies beyond the degree. Beyond the degree lies leadership. Beyond the degree lies innovation. Beyond the degree lies responsibility. Too often, many young people approach employment with a narrow expectation that success must come only through white-collar jobs. Some come to my office asking exclusively for employment at Bank of Ghana, Cocoa Board, GRA, VRA, among others. The government sector is choked. The government sector is choked. These institutions cannot absorb the thousands of graduates entering the job market every year. The future of Ghana cannot be built by job seekers alone. It must be built by job creators. I therefore call on government to put in place the necessary support systems to create opportunities that will enable the private sector to grow our economy. Perhaps I may have to remind all of you here that Bill Gates left Harvard University before completing his degree. I'm not saying abandon school. Yet he went on to build Microsoft, one of the most influential technology companies in the world. His success did not come from certificate alone, but from vision, innovation, and the courage to pursue opportunity. And we know of Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba Group. He was rejected from dozens of jobs, including a job at KFC. Yet he refused to allow rejection to define his future and built one of the largest e-commerce platforms in the world today. Similarly, Steve Jobs, may God bless his soul, dropped out of Reed College, but later co-founded Apple Incorporated, transforming the global technology industry through creativity and relentless innovation. Entrepreneurship, technical skills, digital innovation, agriculture, manufacturing, and creative economy all present opportunities for you to create value and build livelihoods. Those who rise to the challenge will not simply wait for opportunity. They will build it, shape it, and extend it to others. And it is precisely this kind of leadership that Ghana needs in a rapid, changing world. Chairman, student leadership, students, let me conclude by submitting that you should reflect on the two lessons that I have shared in my stories at the beginning of this keynote. The first story of the young graduate who struggled despite academic brilliance reminds us that knowledge alone does not make a leader. Leadership, as I've already said, requires judgment, competence, character, and the ability to inspire others. The second story of the university students confronting the responsibility of leadership, as I've already submitted, depicts that the future of our nation rests on the shoulders of young people, and that awareness must challenge us to much courage, initiative, must challenge us to match it with courage, initiative, and responsible action. These stories are a call to action. Degree is only the beginning. What follows? How you engage with the community, your nation, and the opportunities before you define your impact and the legacy of your generation. Ghana needs a generation of young leaders who are committed to shaping institutions, influencing policy, and holding systems accountable. Embrace youth leadership. Exercise responsible civic engagement and commit to good governance. In doing so, you will go beyond the degree and help build a Ghana that is prosperous, inclusive, guided by competent and responsible leaders. By the way, I am old, I'm not young. I say I'm old and not young because you are soon going to take over from me. Yes. Yesterday, I told some young students that back in the days at UCC, at Casford Hall, when we met J.H. Mensah, he was a minority leader, and I was a mere TESCON floor member. I wasn't an executive. Little did I know that years after him, I will be the minority leader. So the future is yours. You can never tell, you know. So the young ladies, when these Chingilingi boys are coming, don't just look at them today. Look in the beyond and share ideas with them. Don't shut the doors on them. When he becomes president, you are now going to say, when we were in school, he was asking me out. It will be too late. So, Chairman, with all that said, and with at least my bit of humor, as we leave this conference, let me urge all of you to internalize lessons of the two stories. Let them guide you to move beyond the degree. Step forward with competence, act with responsibility, and lead with vision. And in doing so, you will not only transform your own life, but also strengthen governance, foster civic engagement, and contribute meaningfully to a changing Ghana. The challenge is clear. The responsibility is yours, and the opportunity to lead is right here. Go beyond the degree and shape the future of our nation. God bless you for your kind audience. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you, SRC leadership, for putting this program together. God bless University of Education, Winneba. And may its products become the future of our nation.